How's it going, folks? This week's video, we are going to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, moving plants from this system up here near the house down to the new aquaponics system that we started working on a while back. Just before we get cracking, folks, I would like to ask you, if you do enjoy the video, to hit that little thumbs up button down there and even leave a comment, even if it's just g'day after you finish watching. It helps us in the algorithm, basically promote the video so YouTube knows to share it to other people. And if you haven't subscribed already and you are into aquaponics, do hit that little subscribe button, then jump on over to the bell icon, and fingers crossed YouTube will send you a notification, if they feel like it, when I upload a video to the channel. That's enough of me rabbiting on. Let's get cracking with the build. Now at the moment we've got the fish tank, we have the 2 filter canisters set up, not the internal workings, they're still up with the other system. We have a sump tank, we have the starting of a dual root zone bed, and as you can probably see, we have a shade house, or more a leaf guard, over the top of the system at the moment. Now I'll quickly run through the build of this little hoop house first, and then we'll move on to the dual root zone bed. These little hoop houses are very easy to put together. I basically drive in star pickets into the ground, or T-posts, and then what I do is I drill little holes through this pipe. This is a 2-inch or 50mm rural line, by the way, folks. Drill a hole through there that matches up with the holes in the posts themselves, and then run some wire through just to make sure that they don't slip and move. And to join the hoops together, I use what is called a top hat. This is basically something that you connect a gyprock to when you're framing up a house. Now these sections here, not all of them were large enough, so what I've had to do is join multiple pieces together, and I've just connected them with a couple of pop rivets. There's a few further down in there, and that basically allows you to span a fair distance, and they are very strong. You might be able to make out through the shade cloth there that the top hat is connected by some outdoor screws onto the rural pipe and is on there fairly firm. In the past I have wired these on as well, but I didn't think I had to worry about it this time round. Now the shade cloth I have popped over the hoop house for the time being is a 30% shade cloth. I was going to use a veggie net, which is roughly a 20% shade cloth, but because we're almost near the end of winter here, I figured I might as well put the shade cloth up, because yeah, I'd only have to swap it over in about a month or so anyway. We do have a little bit of a join there where some leaves are coming through, but I think I can close that gap up fairly easily. Now up the top here, you can see that I have a different section of shade cloth. Now the reason I have this shade cloth up here is actually to shield the fish tank from the flashing of the backyard lights when they turn on at night, because the jade perch do tend to jump. I've actually had a couple launch themselves out of the tank over the years when people shone torches down the back. So yeah, this is just a little bit of protection just for the jade perch. And as you can see, these hoops aren't quite nice and symmetrical round. That is because these pipes, or these sections of hoop, have been left out in the sun. They're from an older build, and they've just distorted a little bit through the heat of last summer. And fingers crossed they're going to square themselves up over time as the weather warms up. So that's the hoop house side of things out of the way. Now on to the dual root zone side of today's video. This here is a trough I picked up from Stephen. Thanks, mate. He purchased it to actually set up his own aquaponic system. It was one before that. He hasn't used it, but it does have a hole in it, so I'm just going to work with what I've got there. Now, dual root zones, I have had a bit of experience growing with this method before. You can check out the link down in the description after we finish here. Now, as for the setup here, you can see that it's on a bit of an angle sloping towards the sump tank. That's because I would like a clean exchange of the water. And also too, we do have these little ridges in here. So I'm trying to bring it up high enough, the water up high enough to go over there. It's on an old metal frame that is basically being propped up by some cinder blocks or Besser bricks, just so we can get the height over the top of the sump there. What I've done is I've connected the grow bed itself to these star pickets so it won't wobble. There's one on the end there and one on the side over there, and it just means that this won't slide off if anyone grabs onto it and loses their balance or whatever. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but I do like to have my beds fastened. I couldn't whack a screw down through the base there, or I could with a rubber washer, but I really don't want to do that and risk it. So the star pickets and wire is the best way to secure it for the time being, I think. Now on to setting this up so we can pop some plants from the other system in. So just to give you a look at the drain fittings, we've got a 1 inch or 25mm bulkhead fitting or tank adapter, and just a little valve adapter in the end there. That's to basically raise the water level in the grow bed. And to stop any media from running down through there and into the sump, I'm just using this stormwater pipe, some holes in it. The end cap has a hole in it on the bottom, and that's just to secure it through the bulkhead fitting and onto the base of the grow bed. And nothing real special here. So to install it is very easy indeed. To begin with, we'll get the leaves out of here, undo the bulkhead fitting, pop the base on there. Now underneath that we will place a washer to create a watertight seal between there. And on this bulkhead fitting we have another washer to create a watertight seal on the top. Then on the bottom we've just got the nut, and that nut will hold it all in place. Now if I was really concerned I could put an O-ring underneath just to make sure it's watertight, but I think we'll be all right. Let's tighten that up. Pretty much I'll just hand tighten will be more than enough for this fitting here. There we go. Pop the media guard on, and yeah, that bit is right to go. So it's a new day, folks, but before we hook into the build, I just thought I'd remind you that we do have that second Bits Out the Back homestead channel. There will be another video either posted to it before this video or maybe slightly after, just looking at a couple of properties around the Bucka and South Colin area of Queensland. So jump on over and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you want to follow along with our searching for a farm journey, and maybe we might have found one, but that will be for another video. Anyway, back to the build and I'll bring you up to speed. Had a few technical issues this morning, sorry folks, so I'll just talk you through where we're up to. The pump down there, I've made a little bit of a T just using the green stripe rural pipe, and I've attached it to the pump using a 316 stainless steel hose clamp, and I'm just using barb fittings to join it together. And then, yeah, we have a line out obviously for the fish. And we have that line over there that will be going out underneath this grow bed to the inlet over here. I'm just using some old hose left over from an old job. So this style of reinforced hose can be a real pain in the rear to try and get these barb fittings into. So I suggest you either soak it in some very hot water, or you could possibly use a heat gun. And if you don't have a heat gun, maybe you could scrounge a hairdryer, I don't know, from the bathroom cabinet and use that. But yeah, it does help you push them in. Otherwise, you need a hydraulic press, I think. Now, on the other end of this one, we'll just follow it around here. We have a valve just to regulate the flow into the bed. And I have some recycled fittings again from the other system because they're all coming down here. And all I've done down here is just zapped a few holes through just to secure this, which we might as well do now. So basically just going to pull a zip tie through here and secure it through another hole, and that'll be enough. I might need two hands to make sure she's nice and tight, but you get the idea. I actually think I've got it, but yeah, we'll come back and tighten that up later. And of course the end of the hose is just going underneath the grow bed there. And what I'll do is I'll come back and I will secure it just using these little gaps under here, just to zip tie it to the side of the frame here in a couple of spots. And we can push that through for now so we can connect it to that fitting up there. Just trying to put a washer in there first, one-handed of course, just to make life easy. And then screw this on, and I will come back and I'll make sure that that's nice and tight before we turn the pump on. So now that's on, the last thing we need to do is fix the drain from the grow bed itself. Make sure it runs through to the sump tank. So this is a little fitting I'm connecting to the base of the bulkhead. It's a little threaded 25mm or 1 inch elbow, fairly common to get from irrigation and plumbing supplies. And what I'm going to be doing is screwing it in to a 20mm or 3/4 inch fitting, and that pipe there will then go over to the sump. I don't need the full 25mm pipe because this isn't going to have a large flow through it. I'm also not going to worry about a rubber grommet or a seal on this here at all, because the water will be flowing down and not backing up around the threads. We shouldn't have any issues whatsoever with it leaking out just through that section there. Just spin him around nice and tight though, and then we can pop on this section here. You may also make out that it's sort of pointing uphill at the moment. That's just because there is no weight in the bed. Just quickly with these PVC to poly fitting connections, I find they don't leak. I could put some thread tape on there, but I've also got a load of O-rings, so I'll just come back if there's an issue with that. And then
Just push this in here, and I know this is a very tight fit because it actually comes from another system, and this didn't leak at all. But again, if I do have problems, all I have to do is come back and make it watertight, just using my Teflon tape technique. So there we go. That's the drain all sorted for the dual root zone. Just quickly, folks, I did want to remind you about our online Backyard Aquaponics Beginner's Guide, $19.95 US. There is a link down in the description if you want to suss it out. Basically goes from what is aquaponics, how to make a couple of different components, cycle a system, build your own small system using a recycled IBC, and then loads of information after that about, what plants to put in the system, what's best to start off with, and fish and that sort of thing. So do check it out if you're new to aquaponics and you want a bit of a leg up just to get you cracking. Now back to the build. So we're ready to fire the pump back up, but first of all I should probably open the valve to the fish tank and come down here and connect the power cords. I need 2 hands for that though. There we go. And we have water flowing through to the fish tank. And I'm just checking these fittings here for any leaks. Might be able to see those drips there. It's actually coming out of the thread section here, so a washer issue. It's just dripping back into here, so I'm not concerned. As I said, the pump and this plumbing will change. Just checking that fitting there, no drips. And we can turn this on. And there we go. That's a load of water. So we're just going to pretty much all give it a dry run. So we'll let that run at full throttle for a little while, just so the water runs up and covers the outlet there. So that water looks like it's about to start going down that drain fitting. There we go. And we'll give it a little while just to see if there's any leaks down the line. So I'm also going to slow this flow rate down as well, quite considerably. I think all we pretty much will want is something not much more than that. Basically we just want enough water to keep flowing through here continually to keep the pouches moist and the plants well fed. Now because that pipe is actually facing uphill a bit, there will be water pooling down the bottom there, but it doesn't look like there is any water leaking out, and we have a nice flow coming out the other end. So I'm thinking we're pretty right for water seal. I might just zap through a 316 screw though, just to make sure that pipe doesn't come out. So now all I have to do is move this clay from here down into the base of that dual root zone bed. So I think we're pretty much all right there. The water level is down about there, about 30-40 mils below the top. And as you can see, my hands are very mucky. There you go, there's a better look, very mucky hands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flood the bed and I'm going to wash the clay a bit. Something I possibly should have done when I cleaned this material out from the other aquaponics system. There will be a lot of this muck is going to end up in the sump, and I will show you that in a tick, but I can pretty much will guarantee you within 24 hours, if not sooner, the water will be clear in the sump tank again. So this is a method I use a lot when I clean out other grow beds. Basically flood them, give the clay a good rinse, and then I generally take it out and put it in another clean container to go back in the bed or to be stored for later. I'm not going to worry about dumping the water. I mean, all those solids in there are going to be nutrients of some sort for the plants, and all that bacteria in there is going to basically start processing the ammonia from the fish as soon as they make it into the bed. Just start giving this all a bit of a wash. Now the water levels come back up. So there we go, I think that's pretty much all it. Now all we have to do is just pull this out and away we go, it'll drain out. So does that look like chocolate milk or an aquaponics sump to you folks? Definitely very dirty, a lot of suspended solids in there, but I am pretty much well convinced that it will be nice and clean tomorrow. There might be a little bit of debris on the bottom, but the bulk of the solids will end up being filtered out and they will be in the base of that grow bed there, and there will be a few that just settle out on the base of these 2 drums and in the fish tank as well, but we can look after them later. They won't cause an issue with the fish because the water's so aerated, they won't go anaerobic, so yeah, no issue there. But I suppose I should really get organised and get some plants ready to go in here. I think the first victim can be this lemongrass. It's actually a little bit more substantial than I thought it would be. So I'm a little bit concerned. Well, we're going to take some aloe out with it as well, but those aloe, they can go somewhere else. We've got loads around the place. But I think the roots on this lemongrass are going to be pretty much well spread throughout the bed. There we go. That's the rest of it. Try and get as much clay out in here as we can. There we go. Excuse, buddy. Oh, it's got to go in the tray. Now the next victim, so to speak, will be these peppers. There are a few in here, so if we lose one or two, it's not going to be too bad. We do have a load of New Zealand spinach or warrigal greens, whatever you want to call it, growing through the centre of it. So I'll give these guys a gentle lift. Oh, there we go. I've got some warrigals as well. But there, you can see how many seeds germinated. So we'll pop them all in and then we'll probably cull them back to one or two that look stronger than the rest. So just back here over at the lemongrass bed, I'm thinking I might take this black turmeric as well. Oh, I just broke a bit off. There we go, we'll dig down and grab it, hey. That would be a little bit more sensible, Robert. So there we go. Oh, hopefully she should take okay. There's some very big nodules down there. They're generally taken to be energy stores, but keep in mind it is winter at the moment, so they aren't, you know, doing the best, especially in this position, which is shady. Whereas down at the other system, you can probably make out that grow bed still has sun on it. So this little lady here should do okay down there, I think. We'll just pop my little tray of goodies down to one side and we'll get these pouches ready. Hey, Jack, I think I can do this by myself, buddy. You've already got muck all over your head. Come on. Now, what we need to do, this is the way I do it anyway. There are different ways to do this. There's a few little bits of organic matter in here and a few stones, but that's no drama. All I'm doing is adding in probably around about, I don't know, we might go with 50 mil or 2 inches worth of sand in there. There we go, that's pretty much well it. And we'll do that with the other two as well. If you'd like to move, please, bud. So these two larger ones I think will be lemongrass and black turmeric. And this small one here will just be for the little ball chili or pepper or capsicum, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to start putting some soil in the base of them, probably just a bit over a scoop in those larger ones. And I'm also going to add some of the Vegemate we like to use. It's basically activated rock minerals, which means the bacteria are there to break down the rock minerals to make the nutrients ready, available for the plants. Just mix this in here. I will plan out the black turmeric first. Try and get some of those roots down the bottom there. There we go. Try and work some of that soil in underneath. Just backfill around it like that. Yeah, that should be enough. And we're pretty much well done. So she can go off to one side. And I'm pretty much well going to be potting up the other two the same way, except I'll only be adding in a small section of the lemongrass. I don't need that much, I think. So you might be able to see in the center of the bed, the water table comes up to about 50 mil, 60 mil, well, what's that? 2.5 inch from the clay, which is good, top of the clay. That means there won't be any algae forming on the surface. But what it means for these guys is, put this one in first, is we need to work them down into the clay a little bit. So all I'm doing is just working this backwards and forwards until it's just sitting in the water. And there we go, pretty much all sorted. So I'm just gonna pop this black turmeric one here and hopefully you'll see what I mean. So just working that down a little bit further, I think. And you should be able to see that the water table is just there, just kissing the bottom of the pouch. So there we go. You will find, as it happens with the ginger and the potatoes I grew in here, this will wick water up on the outside, so we will get a little bit of green algae grown there, but nothing too dramatic. I might just spin this around here so both of those leaf sections can get a decent amount of sun. Oh, and just quickly with this turmeric, a bit of a heads up, we might be moving soon, so yeah, a small pouch is easier to move than a very large one. And just finally over the back here, because this will grow fairly tall once we thin it down to one, we will pop the capsicums. So just working it down. Yep, we're just touching the top of the water there. And there we go. Now I have had people tell me that these root pouches don't allow roots to grow through them. That is perfectly correct. When they are out and exposed to air around the top here, they do tend to entangle the roots and air prune them to a degree. But from my last grows using these guys, I found that both the potatoes and the ginger sent roots out through the base of these pouches, and to the point where they actually almost clogged up the drain. So something I will be keeping an eye on here, and that's why I have this little end assembly here, so I can actually look down there and see if there's any roots in there. So there you go, folks, my little take on the dual root zone system. Just a quick heads up, I did do a bit of an online hangout with Steve from Potent Ponics, and I'll leave a link down in the description and one up there if you want to suss that out. Steve has had a lot more experience with this, growing in a lot more advanced ways than I'm doing it here. Some say that this is just a wicking system, but as I said before, I have noticed that the roots do grow through into the aquaponic media, so they are getting that dual root zone effect. Now, before I go, I really do want to thank you folks who do come along every week and thumb up the videos and leave a comment down below. It really does help us in the algorithm. Another huge thanks needs to go to you folks who have helped the channel by buying one of our Backyard Aquaponics online beginner's guide, 1995, link down there as well. And a massive thanks to you folks who are continuing to support us through the YouTube membership platform and also the Farm Your Own Yard website. Really do appreciate the support, folks, considering we may have just bought a farm. But anyway, I will pretty much all leave it there. I do hope this video has given you a couple of ideas to play around with in your own backyard aquaponics system, and I'll catch you next vid. Cheers, folks, and happy growing. So that's less than 24 hours. So in a day or two, I would predict this is going to be crystal clear. In fact, I think it would be fine to put fish in this right now if I wanted.